Why aren't you out there doing something, making it happen, is what we are conditioned to do. And what we do here is we begin within first, realizing and knowing that the world is simply a reflection of our own consciousness. And so in that way, it is benevolent because it reflects back to us exactly what our path to awakening is, exactly where our healing is, exactly where we need to shift our perception that we may see a world anew. And folks may say out there that this is Pollyanna. Others may say it's lazy. But I say it takes a steadfast strength and persistence to keep your eye focused on spirit and on God, and to allow that to lead. Allow that to lead us into a new way of experiencing what truly is heaven on earth. So we need not wait any longer. The shift can happen now. The shift can happen before we walk out the door today. That's what I claim. That's what I claim for each of us. And so what you may see behind me are the flowers, and in front of me, the flowers representing the memorial that Larry spoke about, that a dear friend in our community, a love in our community, Bill Johnson, made what we call here his transition of releasing the body, the mortal coil, and in releasing that, spirit moving onward in a spiral upward to a new experience of life. Just like walking from this space out the door to the next, that what we know and claim is that his life is eternal. And in these moments when I have the honor of facilitating, the honor of, as Bill Johnson put it, emceeing. He wanted me to MC his celebration of life. And I say thank you because it's always such an honor, but more specifically because I know Bill and I love Bill. And his passing this past week touched off a tenderness within my own heart because he made his transition nearly to the hour that my father made his transition 8 years ago. So I brought my dad in today. This is a picture of my dad and a candle lit for him and the flowers representing Bill. And that those who we love, what I know and claim, is that they are always with us and we are always continuously with them. That life is ceaseless, that it can be extinguished. And so what I invite this community to do today, in addition to thanking our board of trustees and all those who have served, I also invite you to share your stories with one another about Bill. We did that yesterday in the memorial, and it was wonderful, and the family just loved hearing it. And I invite you when Tommy, Bill's beloved, comes back to this community and is here the next time that you see her, that you share a story about Bill with her, because it will warm her heart and it will keep his love and memory alive for all of us. And so one of the funny stories that I can share right now about Bill is yesterday during the memorial, we had unprecedented and unusual sound issues, such as there was an individual up here and the mic, we couldn't get the mic working, and even when we did, he's like me, he talks with his hands, so the hands were going all over the place. And what was so funny about that to me, as I was allowing and letting and blessing and, and doing what I could do, but facilitating, emceeing this experience, I laughed to myself because anyone who knew Bill in his later years had trouble with his hearing aids. And there were times when I'd say, "How was the service for you?" And he's like, "I forgot my hearing aids." And so he would just be in the experience of being with all of us, and being in spiritual community. And I just thought, how perfect is that we had sound issues as we were celebrating Bill's life. And what it does for me, and this is appropriate for our conversation today, which is being a change agent. Because in some ways, what bigger change is there, at least from our human experience, than releasing the body? I mean, that's a pretty big change, right? And so what I want to point out, though, to us is that change is always happening, and that there is a way that we can be change agents in the world without becoming uncomfortable, without resisting it, and that we have opportunities because we are a community committed to transformation. We say that every week. And so what I know about individuals in this community is transformation is happening, and sometimes it gets uncomfortable. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today and hopefully give some insight in how we can transcend and transform in the midst of this lived experience that we may be the change agents for ourselves and for all of creation. And so about 8 years ago, after my dad passed away, I was working in a corporate job and with a group of people that I absolutely love, doing work I love. And one of my mentors, a woman who I admired so greatly, her dad had passed about the year before. And when we were at a meeting, she pulled me aside and she shared this story with me. And I want to share it with you. Down below the surface of a quiet pond lived a little colony of water bugs. They were a happy colony, living far away, though, from the sun. And for many months, they were very busy, scurrying over the soft mud on the bottom of the pond. They noticed that every once in a while, one of their colonies seemed to lose interest in going about the business of their affairs. And at one point, they'd cling to the stem of a pond lily and gradually climb up and out of sight and was never seen again. And the fellows in the colony would say, "Look, one of our colony is climbing up the lily stalk. Where do you suppose she is going?" Up, up, up it went slowly. Even as they watched the water bug disappear from sight, its friends waited and waited, but she didn't return. "That's funny," one exclaimed. "Wasn't she happy here? Wasn't she happy here? Where do you suppose she went?" No one answered. They were just greatly puzzled. Finally, one of the water bugs, the leader of the group, said, "Okay, I have an idea. The next one of us to climb up that lily stalk, we are going to promise that we're going to come back and we're going to tell one another what and why, the purpose of that journey." And so they all promised one another that they would do this. And so one spring day, not long after, that very water bug, the one who was the leader, who had everybody promise, started to find himself going up the stalk of the lily. Up, up, up he went. And before he knew it, what was happening, he had broken through the surface of the water and had fallen onto a broad green lily pad above. And he was so tired, but the sun was so warm and welcoming that he fell asleep and he took a nap on the lily pad. And as he took the nap, his body changed. And when he awoke, he had turned into a beautiful blue-tailed dragonfly with broad wings and a slender body designed for flying. He couldn't believe the startling change he saw in his body. His movement revealed 4 silver wings and a long tail. Even as he struggled, he felt an impulse to move his wings. The warmth of the sun soon dried the moisture from the new body. And as he moved his wings, he found himself above the water. He was flying. He was a dragonfly. Swooping and dipping in great curves, he flew through the air. He felt exhilarated in his new environment. And by, the new dragonfly lighted happily on that lily pad to rest. And he happened to look into the pond and saw beneath At the bottom of the pond, all of his friends there, the water bugs, they were scurrying about just as he had been doing some time before. And then the dragonfly remembered the promise. The next one of us to climb up the stalk would come back and tell the others where they went. And so without thinking, he flew up into the sky and he flew down to the surface of the water, but he was repelled and he bounced away. Now that he was a dragonfly, he could no longer go into the water. I can't return, he said. Try as I might, I tried to fulfill my promise, but I can't return. So even if he went back, he realized that they wouldn't even recognize him, that he had changed so much. So he said, I'll just have to wait until they become dragonflies too. Then they'll understand what happened to me, where I went, and this wonderful new life I've been given. And the dragonfly winged off happily into its wonderful new world of sun and air. And so that's the story of the dragonfly, and that was the story that was given to me as my dad made his transition. And when I first heard this story, I was so emotional because it sounded like I couldn't reach my dad anymore or those who have made their transition. And at that time, I remembered, though, and knew that we aren't bodies and that we aren't confined by the body, that we are spirit, eternal, now and forevermore. And so that in my consciousness, I can still connect with my dad and he with me. And so it was a wonderful story that also sparked the idea, though, that how many of you feel that way in your spiritual journey and in your life now. That you've made transformations in this lived experience where maybe your physical body hasn't changed, or maybe it has. And people may notice that. But truly what has gone on is an internal transformation where you feel different. And your old playground and playmates just don't cut it for you anymore. You still love those individuals, but there's a disconnect now. Try as you might to go back. You really can't, can you? Because once the bell has been rung, you can't unring that bell. The truth that is pierced through the heart and the mind cannot be unknown. And so I share this story with all of those who are in transitions in your life, transitions through your spiritual teaching and your practices, that try as you may to share what you have gleaned and gained. We all must drink from the waters ourselves. And so being a change agent is to continue that transformation, that internal transformation within, and to allow yourselves to answer the call to soar, to follow the sun, to follow your desire. That within and embedded in your DNA and every aspect of your being is that call to awaken. And so the question or the call is there for you to answer it. Now, what I know is that we can go through these experiences and think, well, why isn't this transformation happening for me? We talk about awakening, why isn't it happening? And I want to say this, that until we are wholly committed, 100% committed to what we say that we desire and want, it doesn't happen. A house divided, if you have one foot in an old way of being and another foot in the new way of being, will eventually crumble and fall until you completely, wholly commit to that which you say that you desire and want. And so what I know about the dragonfly story is that once he goes up the stalk, there's no turning back. And that's what's going on in this spiritual community, that we have evolved in a particular way. And I'd like that quote, Tony, if you've got it. It was the last quote that Larry shared. To exist is to change is to mature is to go on, creating oneself endlessly. That Bill is on an ongoing, ever-evolving journey, and so are we. And that we are on that journey even in this lived experience, especially in this lived experience. And what I want to share with you is another insect story. It was a caterpillar, the butterfly, which is always the symbol of transformation. And so just kind of recapping the story of the butterfly, it begins with the caterpillar stage. And I would say in some ways we're in a caterpillar stage. And in this stage, which follows right after hatching from an egg, the main task is consumption. So as a caterpillar, the main task is consumption. And anybody who has a garden knows this, right? Right? And so the caterpillar's purpose is to simply eat as much as possible in order to fuel the growth that will take place in the future. During this stage, the caterpillar will outgrow and shed its skin as many as 4 or 5 times. And so I would suggest that we are often in the caterpillar stage, where we're consuming spiritual teaching, where we're availing ourselves of spiritual community, where we're doing our spiritual practice of meditation and of prayer to align our consciousness with the consciousness of spirit. And why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? We're doing that for something that is about to occur. And the next stage, from the caterpillar to the chrysalis stage, it's an intriguing stage, and you're familiar with this. But it appears catastrophic to the caterpillar, does it not? When the little crawler is fully grown and can eat no more, it simply dangles from a branch and spins a protective cocoon around itself. And it safely rests within that cocoon, digests all that food that has been consumed in the previous stage. And one of my favorite parts of the story is that as the chrysalis is created around the caterpillar, the very last thing to happen, the thing that does not go within the chrysalis, is the very head of the caterpillar. It pops off. It pops off. And to me, what that symbolizes is then a letting go of the thinking mind. A letting go that you can't take that with you, that it was devised to get us around in this world of appearances, this world here, but we can't take that with us. The time of learning ceases to be of value, and we shift into this chrysalis where it becomes a shift to a time of knowing, of inspiration, of allowing spirit to inform everything. And so, though the chrysalis appears unchanged on the outside, there's dramatic transformation occurring on the inside. The body of the caterpillar is slowly dissolving while the previous dormant precursor cells of the emerging butterfly, the imagined cells, gradually develop, migrate together, and create the brand new being of the butterfly. So within you are the cells that you already require for your transformation. They're already within you. The imagined cells are already in you, awaiting activation. And so the final stage is that the butterfly is fully developed, ready to emerge from the chrysalis. And after breaking free, just like the dragonfly, its body is moist and it needs to become dry. And the blood needs to flow through its wings, and through that struggle, as the blood flows through the wings, it can then fly after that period of time. There is a breaking free for each and every one of us. And within you are those imagined cells, those imagined selves that within you knows what your truth is, within you knows what your desire of your heart is to be in this experience, to embody in this experience. And I'm going to tell you, it's got something to do with love. It's got something to do with peace. It's got something to do with beauty. It's got something to do with a collective oneness. It's got something to do with you giving forth your gift. Giving forth your gift, and if you do not, when we do not, we do die. There is a death. Not only within the heart, but within each of us. Because we are all waiting for the gift that you are here to express and to extend. So being a change agent requires courage. Being an agent for change requires acceptance and allowing what is natural within you to occur. When I think of the dragonfly or the butterfly, I don't think of them arguing with what's about to happen. Now, maybe they are, but the human mind certainly does. The human mind as the caterpillar is like, I don't want to give up being that caterpillar. I love this body. I never want to release this body. But that's not who you are. I need this body, but it's not going to help you fly. I don't want to let go, but you must. And it's within each of us. And I'm not talking letting go of the body as in laying it down in this moment. I'm talking about releasing your identification as a body. So that once you realize within the chrysalis of your being, after you have consumed all of the teaching, that you then join in spirit, holy and divine, the only place where this knowledge can become activated, where the imagined cells that are already inherent within you, in that cocoon of your being with spirit, as spirit, can then allow for you to have an experience that you fly. And so what I say for each of us is that we are each change agents now. And I understand and know that sometimes it is uncomfortable. But hang on. Hang in there. Come to spiritual community so that we can cheer you on in your fullest, brightest, most magnificent expression. We are in the Advent season now, and the Advent season, as well as spring, which is occurring or about to occur, is all about this transformation. It's all about rising from the world of appearances and from illusion and awakening to the grandeur and magnificence that is each of us. And if I ever have a message that is consistent, it is that we are all awaiting your awakening, my awakening. And in the meantime, let us cheer one another on. Let us hold one another in our hearts. Let us know that this is happening and allow it to happen. We need not wait on the world any longer, and that's good news. We need not wait on the world any longer. We're waiting on us. We're waiting on us. And what I say is the time is now. Not too late, not too soon. It's perfect now.